Hello everyone, it's Becca from Becca Books and Bujo, and today I will be telling you about all of the books I read in the month of June. This was my best reading month ever. I read 17 books and a total of, just trying to get the pages for you, 4,591 pages, which in the months prior to this, I had read about, sorry, I should have had this all prepared, but I didn't. I'd read anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 pages, so this is a good 1,000 pages over my norm. And I owe that all to Maddie from Book Browsing Blog and her whatever-thon readathon. I participated in this for the whole month and it was so fun. I was a part of the TBR Travelers. We got second place out of 4 teams and it just really motivated me to read. And so that was really fun, trying to get books to fit prompts and get bingos. It was a blast. I loved doing this readathon and really looking forward to it if she does it again next year. So these 17 books I am going to talk about in my rating order, which is not normal. I usually go in order that I read them, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of build my way up to my best reads of the month. And so the first one I'm actually going to talk about, I did not rate, and this is We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And before I read this book, I did not realize that Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie has come out as TERF, or that stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. I did not know this, and so she basically believes in the gender binary, that there's only male and female, there's nothing else in between. I do not agree with those views. I'm not going to say much about the book in general, but I do want to say, like I said in my whatever-thon reading vlog, which I'll link above, I originally just wanted to scrap this book completely from my books that I read, forget about it, forget that it ever happened, not count it for any prompts. I was really embarrassed and ashamed of myself. However, I did learn from this book. I learned that I need to be better about making sure that I am supporting authors that align with my beliefs and my views. I felt, like I said, super yucky and ashamed inside, like I had this pit in my stomach after learning this and that I had made this mistake. So I want to remember that pit in my stomach whenever I see an LGBTQIA plus person marginalized, oppressed, or looked down upon because of who they are and who they love. That pit in my stomach will hopefully ignite a fire in me and remind me that I need to fight for the rights of LGBTQIA people in many different ways, not just verbally and outwardly, but also in the media that I consume. I need to be a better ally, and this book reminded me of that, to be better, to do better. So not reading this one, but I learned from it a lot that I need to do better and I need to be a better ally. Next, let's talk about a 2-star, which was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I don't get it. I don't get what I missed, because this is a lot of people's favorites in their top 10s. People love Erin Morgenstern, love their writing, love The Night Circus especially, and I just didn't get it. While I understand that the circus itself sounds like a super phenomenal location and experience, I couldn't get into the storyline. I couldn't follow all of the characters. I just didn't understand it. So the reason I got 2 stars instead of just 1 was because of the location and the fantastical place of the circus. But I know I'm probably an unpopular opinion in the midst of many opinions on this book, but I don't really care. It was a 2-star for me. Didn't enjoy it like I hoped I would. Then moving up to a 2.5 star, we have Summer Island by Kristen Hanna. I read this one to work toward my Summer of Kristen Hanna goal, where I try to read all of the Kristen Hanna books this summer, or at least the ones that I haven't read yet. So this one is about a mother who is estranged from her 2 daughters because she left them when they were much younger. This mother is also a famous star, and her comedian daughter, or she's actually trying to become a famous comedian, this daughter, is contracted to write an expose on her mother. And you kind of follow how this daughter tries to do that, but then also how their relationship blossoms in ways that neither of them expected. It is a great book on relationship dynamics between mothers and daughters, how relationships can be mended between them, but then also how things can't necessarily always be forgotten. It had some good relationships, and that's what I love about Kristen Hanna's books, but it didn't keep me super excited to read. So that's why I got 2.5 stars. Next, we are moving up to a 3-star, which is Me Talk Pretty One Day by David Sedaris. And these are just a collection of stories and essays written by David Sedaris about his life. I really liked some of them. Others didn't really strike a fancy for me, but the one that really stood out to me was about France, which I have been to France multiple times, and he had been to France to spend time with his lover. And this one, he talked about learning French, and he really discussed the nouns being masculine and feminine. And the way he did it was just hilarious. Like, why is a table feminine? Or wait, should a table be masculine? And he was trying to just genderify. That's not a word, but gender these inanimate objects, which most romantic languages do. And it was just really funny because I had those struggles when trying to remember if an inanimate object used a masculine or feminine pronoun. I don't think I would have connected with it as much if I weren't a French speaker. So that's maybe some points docked there for that. But otherwise, there were some parts that made me, smile and enjoyed it, but it ultimately fell a little flat for me. So I give 3 stars to this one. I am interested in reading more of his other books, though. He has one called Calypso that I've heard is really, really funny, laugh out loud funny. And so I am not going to give up on David Sedaris altogether. Another 3-star read was The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. This is an interesting satirical look on Christianity from the point of view of Screwtape, who is a senior tempter from the underworld. He is advising his nephew Wormwood on trying to secure the damnation of a particular man. I enjoyed the writing. C.S. Lewis is a really great writer. It was witty and an interesting concept, but it ultimately was just kind of boring and slow for me. So I was happy that it was only about 200 pages and I could get through it pretty quickly. Now, these next few books I'm going to talk about together. It was volume 3, 4, and 5 of The Lumberjanes. I gave 3 stars to Out of Time, volume 4, and Band Together, volume 5, but I gave 4 stars to A Terrible Plan. And I'll tell you a little bit about that, I guess. This series is about girls who attend a summer camp, and this forest that the camp is in is filled with creatures and fantastical beings that they somehow have to fight off. It's really cute and fun. I really liked A Terrible Plan for some reason because it had this element of trying to get badges for their Lumberjane sashes or whatever, like a Girl Scout typical kind of thing. So that's why I liked this one the most and gave it a 4. But these other 2, while entertaining, just weren't my favorite and were basically just that. Entertainment, but nothing super fancy. Out of Time is the girls get stuck in a snowstorm and their scout leader, or their Lumberjane leader, Jen, gets taken by a crazy monster hunter, and they all have to try to take down this gigantic monster called the Groot Slang. It looks like a big Tyrannosaurus Rex. But that one was fine. Nothing exciting. And then this one was about April, this redheaded gal. She was trying to get mermaids who were fighting with each other back together after a band breakup. A pretty bad band breakup. So it was cute. I love the idea of the Lumberjanes. Super fun. And I look forward to reading more. I don't know how many volumes there are, but it's just super easy to get through. And I love mixing these in the month just to get some more easy reads and light and fun and fluffy reads. So that was those 3. Wow, we still have a lot more to go. So let's move on. So we're now in the 4-star category, and let's start with a memoir I read. So I read All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. The author tells stories of his life as a Black man, as a queer person, and then the intersectionality of the two. He had some great stories and some great lessons, especially for boys who find themselves in the same shoes as he did, as a Black man, as a queer man. But it got a little bit too graphic for me with an abusive encounter and a sexual encounter. He explains why he included this in his story so that boys who are in similar situations as him, knowing who they are and who they love, how they identify, how they can cope and heal with a situation if that were to ever happen to them. So I definitely respect that and understand why he included that in his book. But it just got a little bit too much for me, so that's why it only got 4 stars. But ultimately, great stories by this wonderful author, and really enjoyed it. Another memoir, kind of, that got 4 stars is El Deafo by C.C. Bell. This just was such a lovely, heartwarming story about Cece. This is a memoir, so it's about her life, how she became deaf after an illness, and how she deals with being partially deaf as an elementary school student. She has this super ear, or this pack, that allows her to hear her teachers, and ultimately allowed her to hear her teachers even in different rooms. And so she was able to use this superpower to help her friends have some fun. Super sweet, super cute, made me happy, made me smile, and again, written in comic form, so just really fun and easy to get through. Really recommend this. It could definitely be read for middle grade kids, and they would definitely be able to understand it and get some representation that they might not get in their normal books. Next, we have Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. This is my first read by Seanan McGuire, and obviously the first one that I read in the Wayward Children series. This is about children who travel through doorways, and Eleanor West helps them at her home for wayward children. This one looks specifically at a girl named Nancy who had spent time through her doorway in an underworld kind of place. I wasn't expecting a mystery aspect to this book, but that portion of the book really helped pick up the pace for me and made me enjoy it much more. Toward the beginning of the book, I thought it was more 3-star read, but toward the end, it got exciting. Some bad things happen at Eleanor's school or home for wayward children, and we need to follow along and figure out what is going on and why these bad things are happening. So I gave this one 4 stars. I do want to continue this series. It is a well-loved series by many people here on BookTube, and I'm looking forward to continuing with it. Another 4-star read for me was Darius the Great Is Not Okay by Adib Karam. This is about a teenager in the United States named Darius. He is a Persian American or Iranian American. His mother is from Iran and his father is from the United States. And his family learns that his grandpa back in Iran is ill. And so the family takes a trip to Iran to visit his grandpa and spend some time with him in his last days. While in Iran, Darius meets a friend named Sohrab, and this is a friend for Darius like he has never had before. He's always kind of felt like an outsider, a little weird, quirky, and made fun of a lot at his school in the US. But Sohrab treats him lovingly with open arms, and he's never had a friend like Sohrab. So we follow their friendship, and also maybe a little bit more than friendship. It never explicitly states that there is any sort of romantic feeling there, but you kind of get a hint at it. And I think in the second book, there's another one, Darius, I don't even know what it's called. I'll put a picture of it so you can see. But it definitely says that Darius is a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Then I just wanted to share one super sweet quote from this book. You get a lot of relationship struggles with Darius and his dad. Darius struggles with mental health issues, and so does his dad. But for some reason, Darius thinks that his dad doesn't like him because he is mentally ill, because he struggles with depression and anxiety. So Darius feels really ashamed by this. But here's a quote from Darius's dad to Darius, and it made me think of how I want to speak to my children and how my parents have spoken to me. And so I'll just read the quote and you can you can understand, you can glean what I'm feeling from the quote. So it says, "You've always been good enough for me. I loved you from the first moment I saw your little hands on the ultrasound and felt your little feet kicking in your mom's belly. I loved you the first moment I got to hold you and look into your beautiful brown eyes and know you felt safe in my arms. And I've loved you more every day, watching you grow up, watching you grow into yourself, watching you learn to cope with a world I can't always protect you from, but I wish I could." And then it goes on to say that being your dad is my first best destiny, which I think is just so sweet and a great look at how you should treat your children. This world is hard and there might be things that make your kids not okay, but you can love them and treat them with respect and care. Try to show that love to them in any way you can. So, really good book. I'm really looking forward to reading the sequel sometime soon. Then we have some more Kristen Hanna's to talk about. The first one was True Colors by, I just said, Kristen Hanna. This one was a 4-star for me. This one is about 3 sisters who grow up in a small town without their mother. They're only raised by their dad. Vivienne, who is the youngest, goes against her father's wishes and marries a new Indian in town. And they do use the language Indian in this book. Obviously, that was of the time and of the location that they are. But anyway, Vivienne marries this new man in town named Dallas, and in so doing, she broke the heart of her high school sweetheart and broke the trust she had with her sisters. We then follow Vivienne and her relationship with Dallas as they undergo hardships, including a trial against Dallas for a crime that he may or may not have committed. So this one really had me going. I really wanted to keep listening to it. I listened to the audio. And it's just ultimately a story about family, true love, and fighting for what you believe in. A really good, solid Kristen Hanna book. And my last 4-star of the month was Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. We follow Tully and Kate in their 30-year friendship. They face many hardships together and always can turn to each other with their hurts. Ultimately, both girls or women are searching for acceptance. Tully is searching for a family and acceptance by people who would love her unconditionally, and Kate is searching for acceptance by her peers. This one, I have a quote that I want to share with you because it's so dang sweet about love and family. So it says, "Love, family, laughter. That's what I remember when it's all said and done. For so much of my life, I thought I didn't do enough or want enough. I guess I can be forgiven of my stupidity. I was young. I want my children to know how proud I am of them and how proud I am of me. We were everything we needed, you and Daddy and I. I had everything I ever wanted. Love. That's what we remember." And I think it's a great lesson of what you take with you after the end. Whatever you believe in, when you die, what do you take with you toward the end of your days? Is it the money, the material things, or is it the love and the laughter and the family that you had along the way? So, super sweet. I did not cry like I thought I would with this one, but I am excited to watch the Netflix series, although my sister said it is completely different than the book. And I also heard that the second one, Fly Away, the sequel to Firefly Lane, ruins the characters. I don't know. Let me know down below if you agree with that thing that I've heard. Okay, moving on to the 5 stars. I had 3 5-star reads this month, which is not a great percentage, 3 out of 17. But I don't know which one to talk about first. We'll just start with the one that I have right in front of me with notes, is Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is a middle grade fantasy and a delight. So this one is a phenomenal adventure story of Amari, who is learning of her magical powers and saving the world from the evil magicians. This is a story of friendship, of sibling love, and doing what is right. And I cannot wait for Amari and the Great Game to come out at the end of August. Like I said, this one I gave 5 stars. Then let's talk about The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I got this one as an ALC, Advanced Listener copy through NetGalley. So I'm just going to read the review that I left on NetGalley. Word for word. Here we go. I loved this romance. It made me laugh, cry, stopped me in my tracks, and reminded me what it means to be lovable. Even though she may not look the part, Hannah Brooks is a bodyguard and assigned to protect hotshot actor Jack Stapleton. But here's the catch. No one can know she's his bodyguard. So naturally, they fake a relationship. I love a good fake dating trope. You can only guess what happens next. Not only were there sweet romantic scenes, there were wonderful depictions of familial love, especially regarding mothers, and chill-inducing plot twists. I literally got goosebumps when something happened toward the end of this book. Such a great read and very enjoyable on audio. So this one's 5 stars. I am looking forward to having conversations with people, what they thought of this. It came out this month, so especially my sister, she got it as her book of the month. So I am looking forward to discussing that one with you in the comments down below or with anyone who ends up reading it. It was a really great romance and really happy I read it. And my last 5-star read is Loveless by Alice Oseman. I love Alice Oseman. They're a great author. They have some great graphic novels. If you haven't read Heartstopper yet, what are you doing? Go read it. It's free on Webtoons or buy a copy. It's beautiful artwork. But this one is an actual novel, and it is about a young woman who is discovering her sexuality. Toward the beginning of this one, I had difficulties relating with the characters just because they're in a different time of life as me. They had just graduated high school and were going on to college. And because I am way past that point in my life, it was a little bit difficult to relate. But once we got onto more of their college life and the relationships they had in this story, I definitely loved it. So one big main life lesson that I learned from this one is that, I already knew, but it just emphasized for me, is that platonic friendships can mean just as much to an aromantic, asexual person as a romantic relationship. And one might think that someone who is aromantic, asexual, they don't have a relationship, a person that they can confide in like someone might have in a romantic relationship. But that is not the case. They can have relationships platonically with people that are just as meaningful and just as important. My favorite chapter in the whole dang book was toward the end, and it was called The Grand Gesture, where we see a platonic relationship in action being the most important relationship for Georgia, who is the main character in this book, who is discovering her sexuality. I know I didn't talk much about the plot of this book, but it doesn't really need much more than that. I think you should go read it. It is wonderful. It's quick, and it gives you a real life look at someone who is discovering their sexuality, and a sexuality that maybe isn't discussed a lot in media. So really, really awesome book. Really recommend you read it. Did we do it? Did we get to 17 books? I sure hope so, because that's all I have on my list. Comment down below if you have read any of these books and if you agree with me or disagree with me on my ratings and my reviews. I would love to have some bookish discussion with you down there. Please like this video if you did. Consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more content put out by me. I like to post about all things books, reading, and bullet journals, so come along for the journey if you'd like, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.